I think we're a culture obsessed with improving ourselves. Making people be as productive as possible is just the culture that we live in. But what's happening with these apps is obviously a way back to darker times. I'm very concerned, if I'm honest, because I don't even know if mental health can even be solved digitally. I think a real question on this issue for me is, why do we even need these apps? Are we just adding one more thing for people to worry about?
We live in a colonial world shaped by the European colonial adventure or misadventure. So psychology, in this sense, is very much a kind of colonial enterprise.
We all have our problems, Tommy.
Positive psychology came, I would say, in a historical period when not too many bad things were happening in the world. So there was a sense that everything should be for happiness. I would actually say maybe being a little bit depressed is quite a healthy response to what is going on in the world.
But the stigma is already existing, right? So we know that expressing negative emotions is not necessarily seen as a good thing at work.
We have a double burden. We are actually encouraged to constantly improve because the goals of our society is success, achievement. The other side of the burden is that they are constantly encouraged to consume. But positive psychology creates a third burden because it's not just enough to be successful and achieving and consuming. You also have to be happy on top of that. Because if you don't manage to stay that cheerful all the time, you are failing again. You are more or less manipulating yourself. It's a high cost to people. It's a high cost to their authenticity.
If the app is geared towards making you a compliant worker, I think that should stand to reason why that's problematic and dubious.
An important thing to think about is the origin of workplace health and safety in general. Those regulations were born in the industrial era and put in place fundamentally by companies to protect themselves. They didn't want to get sued. And now we're in a digital economy. Mental health and chronic stress is tied to almost all major health conditions, from heart conditions to cancer.
This is not new. This is just the system that we've created. Wanting your employees to be maximally productive is a very old norm within a capitalist framework. And I think it's in the interest of companies to say, I as a company, I as a system, I as an institution want my employees to change instead of, for example, create a safe working environment. So these apps, they're not really innovating. They're just accelerating, already framing everything as being the fault of the individual.
And it is not an organization offering a structural change that is making your life easier.
Putting mental health as a top priority, that is the mission at one of the Amazon warehouses right here. They've created a booth for employees to take a moment for themselves called Amazon. Inside, there are videos on breathing techniques, calming sounds, and aromatherapy.
We're talking about the workplace. We're talking about encouraging these as perks that the organization might offer to people. These would be the nightmare neoliberal replacement for actual tangible healthcare services.
Ultimately, if companies want to promote these kind of therapies to their employees, the companies themselves need to think very deeply about what they're doing. Are they trying to make another company profit, or are they actually trying to nurture their staff?
They need to start looking at what creates the issues. So they actually need to improve their structures, their system of work, the condition of work for people. You need to be seen as a person. You need to be heard as a person. These apps, they are simply not good enough and often distract from real issues from real opportunities to change.